Welcome back to a quick chat in the Cadillac. My name is SG, and I like to explore the simplicity of complexity. So if you don't know, this is my show, and I'm going to break it down for you real quick. Today, we're talking about something that hit me hard. Ooh, it hit me hard today. Okay, this is talking about forgiveness, but specifically forgiving yourself. Now, for all the culture vultures out there who are quick to cancel and slow to understand, give me a break for a moment, because we're not talking about victim blaming. That's a very different thing. We're talking about forgiving yourself. Because there are several points in anyone's life where you could turn back and see that you acted incorrectly. And I know that a lot of times when it comes down to actions that people have taken or ways that people conduct themselves out of hurt, the reason that they were hurt is oftentimes a little bit out of their control, if not entirely out of their control. Sometimes it was completely under their control, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the people who feel as though they're only just the victim. And I'm sorry, but even if at that certain point in time, you could have done nothing to stop yourself from being hurt, afterwards, the way you conducted yourself based from that hurt, it's wrong. Unless it's not, in which case you wouldn't need to forgive yourself. But you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're acting from a place of hurt, you're going to inflict hurt. So you need to take accountability in some form or fashion. Now, for all of those out there who saw where they could have hurt themselves or hurt others and what position and role they played in, it should be easy for you to take accountability, right? So in either case, we know you have to take accountability, but that's not the only step, right? Taking accountability doesn't mean you forgive yourself. It just means you recognize you did something wrong. And now, if you don't forgive yourself, you're just going to continue beating yourself up and then further intensify that hurt and that pain instead of actually doing something about it to correct yourself, your behavior, and your state, the state of your health. Forgiveness is difficult already. I mean, it's hard enough to forgive somebody else for doing you wrong, but as strange as it seems, sometimes it's 10 to 1,000 times more difficult to forgive yourself. Excuse me. And in a position where you feel like you've been hurt, in a position where even you feel like you've hurt yourself, it's hard to recenter. It's hard to focus and ground and realize at some point or another you have to accept that you've been hurt. You have to accept that you hurt yourself. Then you have to acknowledge your role. You have to accept the accountability for that hurt, for that pain, and then you can forgive yourself. And I'll tell you, there's proof of it everywhere, how hard it is to forgive yourself, because there are people out here, depending on the circumstances, the person, and the consequences, that have taken decades, lifetimes to forgive themselves. All right, it's one of those things where it's not a skill that's easily developed overnight, but it is a skill that will help you grow faster than it will stop you from growing. 1,000,000%. Now, for the narcissists out there who never accept that they've ever done anything wrong and therefore feel that they have no need to forgive themselves, I mean, I would argue you probably need to forgive yourself the most, but if you're stuck in your ways, you're stuck in your ways. Exit stage left. Thank you. But for everybody else, you got to do it. All right? There is no way around it. You don't have to do it in public. You don't have to do it in private. But you damn sure need to forgive yourself. Because that shit will stack up in the worst ways. And maybe not the most visible ways, but in the worst ways, it will. All right, that's why the most lethal hitman is the hitman that can forgive themselves after doing their job. Right? Because they can keep their mind clear. At that point, they've become a weapon or something like that instead of a human, but they accept it and they forgive themselves, right or wrong. That's what makes them effective. But a hitman that let it compounds gets sloppy. The hitman that never forgives themselves, or the hit woman that never forgives themselves, they get sloppy. because it gets too emotional, because all that shit is just building up. And that ain't safe. It ain't safe for nobody. Even in the, I mean, that's a very extreme example, but it could be the local barista. The local barista could not forgive themselves and explode one day and do some wild shit. Things that don't get dealt with aren't going to deal with themselves. And there's a lot of people, especially in this day and age, who live in a constant state of victimhood. And it's so restrictive. Not just, not just for your relationships in your external world, but internally. It takes away all your power to always be the victim. Do you realize that? Do you realize that when you are always the victim, you are giving all your villains, you're giving all your villains power over every aspect of your life. Whether you choose to do so or you do it subconsciously because you ain't figured it out yet, doesn't really matter. So to take the power back, let me give you a little advice. Forgive yourself. Take accountability. Be the one who says, all right, for somewhere along the line, I fucked up. But I'm not going to let it keep happening. All right, I'm not here to beat myself up over it. I'm here to forgive myself and move on. Reclaim that power. Don't exist in a state of victimhood. It won't do you no good. But in order to do so, you got to take accountability and forgive yourself. I don't know how I could lay it out much simpler than that. I mean, I've given examples, and I'm not really telling a lot of jokes today because, to be honest with you, I really just wasn't in that kind of mood when I started talking about this. Because it's real. The shit is real. And I'm not saying that, if you forgive yourself, it's not a placebo effect. It'll have an actual effect on your life, even though that's true. When I say the shit is real, you know how many problems would be solved in this world if people were more forgiving of themselves and then moved forward? You would be in awe at the number. But, I mean, it's okay. Most people just ain't that far along. Remember, I told you, some people take decades, lifetimes, centuries, multiple lifetimes to forgive themselves. It just is what it is. So you as the viewer, the person who's sitting here watching, understanding what I'm telling you, or at least listening to it, hopefully you're understanding and comprehending what I'm trying to say, and hopefully I'm communicating well enough to get the point across to you. But forgiveness is for the self, and they say that, and you think, I gotta forgive someone because it'll make me feel better about how they hurt me. That's not what it is. It's not. Forgiveness starts here, in any form or fashion. All right, if someone did some shit to you, you gotta forgive yourself too for thinking, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, self. I didn't realize that I was acting as though I deserved that. I never deserved that. And then forgive yourself. I forgive you, self. Pretty simple. It might sound dumb to people who are dumb, but to people who are smart, it sounds like shit that they already do. Probably close to every day, even in small ways. And I ain't here to sit here and cater. I'm not here. I don't get on this fucking phone and stare at myself for 10 minutes at a goddamn time just so that I can cater to your ego. That's not what I do. I get on this phone, I look you in the face through the goddamn internet, and I tell you like it is. So today, I don't care what it's for. I don't care if you stubbed your toe on the bed frame or you just killed 700 people consecutive, back to back. You need to look in the mirror and forgive yourself. All right? If you're the motherfucker that killed 700 consecutive people, you got a lot of forgiveness to do. But you need to forgive yourself so that you can move forward. You don't have to do it again. Because, see, that's what forgiving yourself allows you to do. Move forward without having to do it again. All right, at least you have the space and the opportunity not to do so when you forgive yourself. Whether or not you take that opportunity, shit, only time will tell. But if you don't give yourself a chance, there is no chance. Catch my drift? I think I talked that one out. All right, so that's all I got to say about it. Forgive yourself. Peace.